If they don't cheat, we win this state easily, okay? They cheat. They have no shame. They cheat. Do you understand that, you crooked people? They're the most crooked. They cheat. They cheated in the last election, and they're going to cheat in this election, but we're going to get them.
That was Donald Trump at a rally in Minnesota that got so strange. His ranting and raving got so out of control that he actually stunned the crowd into silence. But we're going to check that out in just a second. First, I wanted to talk about what Trump said in that first clip. He said that the Democrats won't win this election unless they cheat. First of all, we are not talking enough about how Donald Trump is already trying to deny the results of this election. He is trying to start the feelings that led to January 6th within his cult again, and it is dangerous, and it needs to be called out. He then said that Democrats are crooked, which is just ridiculous coming from a convicted felon, and said that if Donald Trump does win, if he is elected again, which we are not going to let happen, but he said that we are going to get them. Again, for so long since the disgraceful assassination attempt on Donald Trump, there's been this conversation about how he's going to be a changed person, and we'll get to that later in the video, but he's going to be this changed person who cares about unity, and that it's the Democratic rhetoric that is so angry and vengeful, and that's what causes political violence. But I don't know what could be more inciting of political violence that Donald Trump has already incited than saying that we're going to get them. We're going to get Democrats if we win again. This needs to be called out. And it wasn't the only crazy thing that Donald Trump said in this speech. Of course, every Donald Trump speech is packed full of crazy things, but this clip, the one that stunned the crowd into silence, was one of the more strange remarks from Trump. Let's check it out.
And now we're replacing him with worse than he is, a dangerous person who's not smart. You know she couldn't pass a law exam, right? Have you heard that? These are minor details. She couldn't pass a bar exam. She took the bar exam. She couldn't pass it. She thought she'd never be able to pass it. This is what we have wanting to be up. Other than that, she's a very fine woman. I'd like to make that statement.
So that was Trump falsely claiming that Kamala Harris didn't pass the bar exam, that she was a DA and an attorney general, but she didn't pass the bar. I don't really know what he was trying to hit her with there, and that's clearly why the audience was kind of looking around. You saw that wide shot. The audience was looking around, kind of confused, wasn't really laughing. It was just weird, but it really goes to show how little Donald Trump has to attack Kamala Harris with. He can't say that she's soft on crime or a bad prosecutor because, one, that's not true, and two, he's a convicted felon, so the Republican back the blue slogan doesn't really work anymore. He can't blame the unsecure border or an unsecure border on her because he's the one who blew up the bipartisan border deal. So he really has nothing to attack her on. I see Republicans saying she doesn't have enough experience, which is blatantly false. And Kamala Harris has been in public service. She's been an elected official longer than J.D. Vance and Donald Trump combined. So all of these attacks are falling flat. And because of that, he's resorting to these weird claims that really just don't make much sense. But it's not just weird claims. It's also angry attacks. And that's perfectly shown in this next clip.
I want to be nice. They all say, I think he's changed. I think he's changed since 2 weeks ago. Something affected him. No, I haven't changed. Maybe I've gotten worse, actually, because I get angry.
So like I said earlier in the video, Donald Trump and really the Republicans around him are trying to convince us in the media that he's a changed man, that the assassination attempt has led him to be a different and better person, someone who's kind and someone who's for unity. But we know that is absolute garbage. We know who Donald Trump is, and we know that he's not changing. And like he said, maybe he's gotten worse. He is so angry that Kamala Harris isn't just beating him in the polls, but taking his own supporters, that he has gotten even more vengeful and angry before. And so, like I said, the attacks that he's trying to make on her are just gross and uncomfortable for all of us to hear, or they're just wildly ridiculous and no one really wants to respond to them, like we saw in that clip of the crowd falling silent, because they just sound so strange. And this was one of those attacks that just sounded so strange.
And she's beyond liberal. Look, she was a failure at every stop. She was a failed vice president. She was a horrible district attorney. She destroyed San Francisco. She was a liberal she was there before all the guys that you're currently reading about, right? If a crazy liberal like Kamala Harris gets in, the American dream is dead. I believe it's dead. I believe it's dead.
Suggesting that Kamala Harris will kill the American dream really has no basis in fact. It's not a policy dispute, again, because Republicans don't have policy differences with the Democratic Party because they have no policies. This MAGA majority in the House has caused Congress to be the least productive in history because they have no agenda. They have no policy. They don't know how to govern. They just cause chaos, and we cannot go back to that. As Kamala Harris always says, we're not going back. We're not going back to Donald Trump. And as we've been talking about a potential debate that could happen between Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump that Donald Trump is trying to back out of, I think it's important to show this contrast between the two. And Donald Trump, in his speeches, is kind of making the case for why he should never be president again. But I wanted to create as clear of a difference between the two as I could, using a clip from Trump's speech and a clip from a speech that Vice President Kamala Harris gave recently. So let's take a look at the Trump one first.
From prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. You know, they go crazy when I mention Dr. Hannibal Lecter. You know who that was? They say, why does he keep mentioning Hannibal Lecter? Well, you see, he was a slightly troubled patient in an insane asylum, and he'd love to have you for dinner, you right there. He'd love to have you for dinner. But I mention him because we have people like that coming into our country. They're closing their insane asylums all over the world.
Hannibal Lecter. He's talking about Hannibal Lecter in his speech. Kamala Harris is laying out a vision for the future, how we're going to preserve our freedoms and civil liberties. And Donald Trump is talking about Hannibal Lecter. Really? And that becomes so strange, and the contrast is so clear when we check out this clip from Kamala Harris.
And this campaign is also about two different visions for our nation. One, where we are focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. A future where no child has to grow up in poverty. Where every worker has the freedom to join a union. Where every person has affordable health care, affordable child care, and paid family leave. We believe in a future where every senior can retire with dignity. So all of this is to say, building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Kamala Harris has a vision for our future. It is a future of protecting and preserving our fundamental freedoms, a future in which we don't have the freedom to just get by, but the freedom to get ahead. Investing in infrastructure, battling climate change, lowering prescription drug prices, these are things that Kamala Harris is fighting for. And what's Donald Trump doing? Making strange attacks that are often racist and misogynistic, or talking about Hannibal Lecter and sharks and batteries and electrocution. These are two completely different people in which a contrast couldn't be more clear. We talk about it on the show all the time. Convicted felon in Donald Trump, career prosecutor in Kamala Harris. Old ideas versus new, young, and progressive policies to push us forward. These people are so different. And that's why I really would like to see them debate, not just because Kamala Harris would mop the floor with Donald Trump, but also because we need to paint this picture for the American people. And if you would do me a favor in sharing this video with a friend, share it with a member of your family, share it with a friend, so they can see how unhinged Donald Trump is, so we can create this contrast, it would really go a long way, and it would really mean a lot to me. And also, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. You join what we are building on this channel, this incredible movement. And if you can, it would really mean a lot if you'd hit that thumbs up, leave a like on this video. It helps us continue to grow this audience, continuing to grow these videos, and it would really mean a lot to me. And until next time, I'll see you soon.